They say a woman's intuition is her superpower, but mine came with receipts, timestamps, and a front row seat to my husband's double life. My name is Tasha, and for 1 year, I watched my husband Andre celebrate milestones with another woman while coming home to me with guilt gifts and manufactured affection. The iPad he thought was broken, it wasn't. Every text, every photo, every "I love you" he sent her synced directly to my cloud. I saw the anniversary cake. I read the love notes. I watched him plan romantic dates while telling me he had to work late. But here's what Andre didn't know. The company he worked for, the career he was so proud of, the 6-figure income that funded his secret relationship, I controlled all of it. My family owned the firm. And when I finally decided I'd seen enough, I didn't just walk away. I orchestrated the most calculated, devastating takedown a cheating husband could ever imagine. Before we dive into how I dismantled his entire world, comment below where you're watching from and subscribe to this channel because this story will leave you speechless. Trust me, the ending is worth every second. It started with flowers, random Tuesday flowers, then jewelry I never asked for. Andre, who once forgot our anniversary 3 years running, suddenly became the world's most attentive husband. He complimented my hair, cooked dinner twice a week, and bought me designer handbags I'd only glanced at online. At first, I thought therapy was working. We'd been going for 6 months trying to rebuild after years of his explosive temper and emotional distance. I thought we were healing. I actually believed him when he said he wanted to be better. But something felt off. The gifts felt transactional, like payments for something I hadn't agreed to. His eyes never quite met mine when he handed them over. The kisses felt rehearsed. I started noticing patterns. The bigger the gift, the later he'd stayed out the night before. A Cartier bracelet appeared after a weekend work conference. A spa day voucher materialized after 3 consecutive nights of him sleeping on the couch, claiming work stress. My therapist asked me once, "Do you feel loved or do you feel managed?" That question haunted me, because the truth was I felt like I was being handled, pacified, bought. And deep down in that place women ignore because acknowledging it means facing something terrible. I knew. I just didn't have proof yet. The discovery came on an ordinary Saturday morning. Andre's old iPad had been sitting in our junk drawer for months. The screen cracked from when he'd thrown it during one of his rages. I only pulled it out because I needed to look up a recipe and my phone was dead. When I plugged it in and it powered on, I expected nothing. What I got was everything. His iMessage account was still active, synced to his phone. And there, in real time, I watched his conversation unfold with someone named Brian Jim. Except Brian wasn't discussing workout routines. Brian was sending heart emojis and saying, "I miss you too, baby." I felt my stomach drop. My hands started shaking. I scrolled up and up and up. 6 months of messages. Photos of them together at restaurants I'd never been to. Screenshots of hotel reservations. Videos of her laughing in his car, wearing his jacket. Her name wasn't Brian, it was Brianna. She worked in his department. She was 26, 8 years younger than me. And according to their messages, they'd been official for exactly 6 months. The same week, we started couples therapy. I sat on our bathroom floor for 2 hours, reading every word, watching my marriage dissolve in blue and gray text bubbles. The iPad became my secret weapon. I never told him it worked. I just kept charging it, kept watching, kept collecting evidence of a life he thought was hidden. Brianna wasn't a secret at work. She was just cleverly disguised as a colleague. Andre had mentioned her before. The new analyst. Really sharp, helping with the Morrison account. He'd even suggested I'd like her, that maybe we should all grab dinner sometime. The audacity would have been impressive if it wasn't so devastating. Through the iPad, I learned their entire origin story. It started at the company holiday party 11 months ago. Too much wine. A kiss in the parking garage. He'd told her he was unhappily married, that we were separated but still living together for financial reasons. Classic. She believed him because he was charming when he wanted to be. Narcissists always are. The work calls that came during dinner, her. The client emergencies on weekends, her. The guy's night that happened twice a month, her apartment. I watched him text her, "I love you," while sitting 3 feet away from me on our couch. I watched him plan surprise dates for her while I reminded him about our couple's counseling appointments. What gutted me most was reading how he described me to her: cold, controlling, unwilling to let him go. He painted himself as trapped, noble for staying, suffering in silence. He made me the villain in a story I didn't even know I was in. Meanwhile, I was at home doing his laundry, cooking his meals, genuinely trying to save our marriage while he built a whole new life behind my back. 3 weeks after I discovered the iPad, I watched Andre manufacture an entire fight in real time. I'd seen the messages earlier that day. Brianna's birthday was that weekend. He'd planned something special but needed an excuse to disappear for the night. So he created one. It started at dinner. He picked at his food, sighing dramatically. When I asked what was wrong, he snapped, "Why do you always interrogate me?" I hadn't interrogated him. I'd asked a normal question. But he escalated, accusing me of being controlling, of suffocating him. His voice got louder. He threw his napkin down. Classic narcissistic rage, designed to put me on the defensive. Old Tasha would have fought back or tried to de-escalate. New Tasha, the one with the receipts, just watched. I stayed calm. I didn't engage, which frustrated him more because he needed me to explode so he could play the victim. When that didn't work, he grabbed his keys and announced he was going to his brother's house to clear his head. He went straight to her apartment. I watched the Uber route on the iPad, watched him text her, "I'm free, baby," "She's impossible." Watched her respond with heart emojis and "I made your favorite dinner." While I sat in our house, in the wreckage of a fight he'd manufactured, he was celebrating his girlfriend's birthday with champagne and candles. That was the night I decided he wouldn't just lose me. He'd lose everything. The anniversary hit me like a semi-truck. Not our anniversary, theirs. 1 year since they made it official. I watched the plans unfold over 2 weeks. He'd booked a private room at an upscale restaurant downtown, ordered a custom cake that said, "Happy Anniversary," bought her a necklace from Tiffany's, spent more on her than he'd spent on me in 3 years combined. The morning of their anniversary, he kissed me goodbye, said he had a late meeting with a potential client. "Don't wait up," he said. I smiled, told him I loved him, watched him leave. Then I opened the iPad and read the note he'd written her, the one he planned to give her that night. "Brianna, this year with you has been the happiest of my life. You've shown me what love is supposed to feel like. You're my peace, my joy, my future. I can't wait to build a life with you. Forever yours, Andre." I read it 3 times. Each time it hurt differently. The first time was shock. The second was rage. The third was clarity. He wasn't just having an affair. He was planning a future with her. Planning to leave me once he figured out how to do it without financial consequences. Using me as a safety net while he built his dream life with someone else. I took screenshots of everything, the messages, the receipts, the photos. Then I called my brother Marcus, who happened to be the CEO of Andre's company. "We need to talk," I said, "about your star employee. Living with Andre was like living with a bomb. You never knew what would trigger the explosion. A meal not cooked right, traffic that made him late, me asking where he'd been. The rage was never proportional to the situation. It was a tool, a weapon he used to control and intimidate. I'd spent years walking on eggshells, managing his moods, apologizing for things that weren't my fault. His anger always came with the same script. I was too sensitive. I misunderstood him. I provoked him. Classic Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. He'd rage at me, then cry and apologize, then make me comfort him for the pain he'd caused me. The therapist had called it emotional abuse. I'd resisted that label because abuse felt like a word for other people's relationships, not mine. But watching him on the iPad, seeing how gentle and patient he was with Brianna, how he never yelled at her or blamed her, I realized the truth. He could control his temper. He just chose not to with me. He wasn't a broken man who couldn't help his reactions. He was a calculated man who used rage to keep me small and compliant. With Brianna, he was whoever he needed to be to keep her hooked. With me, he was whoever he needed to be to keep me trapped. But here's what narcissists never expect. The person they've underestimated will be the one who destroys them. People always ask why women stay, as if leaving is as simple as packing a bag and walking out the door, as if love just evaporates the moment you discover betrayal, as if years of investment, shared history, and trauma bonds can be severed with one clean cut. I stayed for 3 months after discovering the truth because I was paralyzed by competing emotions. Part of me hoped it would end on its own. Part of me didn't want to accept that my marriage was a lie. Part of me was terrified of being alone, of failing, of proving right everyone who'd warned me about him. Shame is a powerful anchor. But the biggest reason I stayed was strategic. I knew if I confronted him immediately, he'd gaslight me, deny everything, delete evidence, play the victim. I'd seen him do it before, with smaller lies. His truth-bending was Olympic level, so I stayed silent. I played the dutiful wife while building my case. Every day was an acting performance, kissing him goodbye, pretending I believed his lies, smiling through dinners while knowing he'd been with her hours before. It was exhausting and excruciating and empowering all at once, because every day I stayed quiet was another day he underestimated me. He thought I was clueless, weak, easy to manipulate. He had no idea I was 3 steps ahead, holding all the cards, waiting for the perfect moment to burn his entire world down. The takedown was surgical. I started with Marcus, showed him everything. The company had a strict fraternization policy Andre had violated. Marcus was furious, not just as my brother, but as CEO watching an employee lie on expense reports, using company resources for personal affairs, creating potential liability. Phase 1. Andre's promotion he'd been promised? Denied. The Morrison account he'd managed? Reassigned. His performance review? Suddenly documented concerns about judgment and integrity. He came home confused, stressed, asking why everything was falling apart at work. I held him while he cried. "It'll be okay, baby," I whispered. It would not be okay. Phase 2. I filed for divorce with evidence that would destroy any chance of alimony claims. Hired the best attorney money could buy. The prenup he'd convinced me not to get? Didn't matter. His adultery did. Phase 3. Brianna. I sent her anonymous messages with screenshots. Not of the affair, she knew about that. Of him trash-talking her to his friends, calling her clingy and temporary, joking about how easy she was to manipulate. Narcissists always have receipts on themselves. She broke up with him within 48 hours. I served him divorce papers at the office, in front of his colleagues, watched his face crumble. He called, texted, begged. I can explain. But there's no explanation good enough for a year of calculated betrayal. Today I'm free. He's jobless, broke, and alone. And I sleep like a baby, knowing I didn't just leave. I won. Comment below. What would you have done? And don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping real-life stories.